Yes, guys, how you doing? Welcome back. Bugsy Malone has just started barking in the background. I hope you can't hear it. I hope you're all happy and healthy doing the things you love with the people that you love doing it with. It's Monday morning, it's lunchtime, and we've got a special guest on, someone I've been very, very determined to get on the channel for a long time. It hasn't happened until today. So he's making his debut. It's Ryan Isaacs. You might know him from, or you probably will know him from Tottenham on tour fame. Season ticket holder. He's just got back from Manchester United or from Old Trafford late last night. Probably very tired, but he's also a vociferous Levy outer, one of the kind of main sort of flag wavers, flag bearers for that movement. And we've been meaning to have this kind of conversation around what's been going on. Obviously, things are starting to change. I hope we would all agree for the better in Camp Tottenham Hotspur. So I wanted to get Ryan's opinions on everything, really, the game last night, but also where we're at as a football club, bigger picture stuff, and see what he wants and expects and hopes for the rest of this season, next season, and whether or not his requirements, expectations from the board level to the scouts, to the ownership, to the players, the coach, everything has changed, will change, or and see where he's at. Ryan, how you doing, mate? Good to see you.
I'm doing well, as you quite rightly said. A little bit tired, getting in at just gone midnight last night. Getting up early, doing some errands around the house. So yeah, despite Tottenham and everything's going on, life doesn't stop. You still got to do things. But yeah, very excited. Thank you for having me on the show. It's been a while. We have been talking about getting me on, and today's the day.
Just before we get into it, let me just say hello, see if there's anyone in the house that I need to quickly say hello to. Obviously, I'll say hello to the people that have been waiting. Adrian Strokers, good afternoon, mate. Good to see you all. He says 18 games to go and 54 points up for grabs. 32 points should get us Champions League football, as 72 points on average has got there since the inauguration of the Premier League in 1992. So 11 more wins from 18. It's very doable. Very, very doable with the squad that we've got, with the performances that we can churn out despite our sort of threadbare depth at the moment because of injuries and absentees, but everyone looks like they're coming back soon, mate. So Adrian, good to see you, buddy, and hopefully we can get there. I'm going to get Ryan's take on that in a second. Joseph's in the house as well. Good afternoon, Sean and Ryan. Let's go. For me as a fan that still wants Levy gone, interesting. I will give Levy credit for putting in the best recruitment structure of manager I've seen for a long time. Very balanced, mate. Appreciate that. Who else we got? Joe's in the house. Big up, Joe. Adrian sounds most doable. Is talking to Adrian. Chris Horry's in the house. Good to see you, mate. Let me see. Samantha's in the house as well. Good to see you. The lads seem to be 100% behind the manager, and it was good to see them disappointed they didn't win, starting to show that winning mentality 100%. Now we've got the members of the house coming in as well. I'm going to run through this one. Ren, good to see you, love. Martin Knightsbridge, great to see you, mate. Gregor's in the house as well. Daniel Borden's in the house. Good to see you guys. John G saying, how we doing? We're both very well. Smithy Smith's in the house, as is another guy called Mr. Smith, Sean Smith, Tony Rodriguez, Drew La. Big up, Drew. Good to see you, mate. A miss, even. I'm not sure if that's a mate or a miss. Peter Callow, good evening. Disney Gal 61 and Tom 81. Good to see you guys. Yeah. Right, that's it. We're going to get straight into it because time is of the essence. 100 and nearly 200 people in the house straight off the bat for Monday afternoon. Don't you guys have work to be at? I know I certainly do, and I know Ryan does this afternoon as well. So, but smash the like button for me on the video like you always do. You know, you got to take your shoes off just like that. You got to hit the like button, hit the subscribe as well. And by the way, Ryan's channel, he's a member of Tottenham on Tour, one of the great channels in the community. His link, that link is in the title of the video. So if you haven't already, then make sure you share your love and your attention over there by hitting the link. It will take up another page. Just smash the subscribe button and go and check out the wonderful guys over there. Ryan, mate, let's get straight into business before we talk about Levy and bigger picture stuff, which I know most people will be more interested in. We are just on the back of a very interesting, entertaining 2-2 draw at Old Trafford. You were there as someone who often goes to away games as well. It's a different perspective watching the game in the stands than it is on the TV. What was your takeaway, mate?
I'm hoping this is the same for many others, but disappointed not to take all 3 points. I felt, especially second half, we controlled every aspect of the game, just without having that clinical final pass in us. Very devastating from set pieces, which is not something traditional with Tottenham. I felt going into the game, many of us were taking a point. Bearing in mind what's going on at Manchester United, it's still Old Trafford. Our record there isn't the best, but it's probably better in the last 10 years than at, say, grounds like Anfield and Stamford Bridge and even the Emirates. But it's one of them, you take the point, you move on. Very good performance, happy with the performance. Just lacking that killer edge, that final pass to kill the team. That was literally it. I couldn't fault the performance in any way.
Yeah, look, I want to spend a couple of seconds kind of recalibrate. I was saying this to you in the background. I want to recalibrate my initial thoughts after the game, because I definitely felt like, in the post-match analysis with Sava and Henry, I feel like the three of us were talking from the same hymn sheet a little bit about, we were frustrated, disappointed, but we went through the players and spent a lot more time talking about the frustrating performances than probably celebrating the good ones. And I think there was a mix of both. But ultimately, I feel like maybe I didn't spend enough time respecting the reality of what we were doing yesterday. And, to have gone to the Etihad, Ryan, and taken a point, to have gone to Arsenal and taken a point, to have gone to Old Trafford and taking a point, places where we usually, don't do very well. Man City different, but, especially Old Trafford and the Emirates, not usually doing so well. And with yesterday's team, having really no creative threat, or no apparent on paper creative threat in the midfield, a front three who's missing probably two of our more optimum front three, or from the front four, whatever. No Maddison, no Kulusevski, no Sonny, no Bissouma, no Sarr. All five players start in Tottenham's first 11. I feel like maybe, going there and getting 67% possession, having 20 odd shots on goal, whatever it was, and coming away with a draw and feeling frustrated, maybe I should really be more celebratory of the effort of some of the players that I think I criticized last night. I want to speak a little bit about the individuals. Pierre-Emile Højbjerg and Ollie Skip, I have seen your player ratings. So yesterday I criticized them massively. I said Bentancur was sensational, but the other two I thought were pretty poor. What was your take on Højbjerg and Skippy's performance?
I see, especially on Twitter, a lot of people seem to have a flip opinion in terms of how they felt they played. Like, some felt Højbjerg was good and Skip was poor. Some felt Skip was good and Højbjerg was poor. I'm in the former. I thought Højbjerg, despite giving the ball away for the second goal, I've always said Højbjerg in these type of away games is like the perfect man to the way he progresses the ball with his passing. He's direct. He plays the ball forward. He'd done that on a number of occasions, especially second half. And I thought he was very much integral to our play yesterday, despite giving the ball away. Skip, I didn't see a lot of yesterday. I felt apart from that one pass to Timo Werner to release Timo in the first half, I felt Skip was mainly running around like a headless chicken. I didn't really see a lot of Skip, in the game, grabbing the game, which is a shame. But we know these players aren't quite there fit in the system in terms of, playing the ball crisply. They don't play it with, they don't play with that intensity. They don't play with that fire. They don't pass the ball as quick as someone like a Maddison or a Bentancur. They slow the play down, which is probably what maybe allowed us to settle with about 5-10 minutes to go for the point in the end, instead of trying to grab all three. Overall, come away from Old Trafford with that midfield three, which is very much a Conte midfield three rather than Ange Postecoglou midfield three.
Right.
It's promising. It's very promising.
Do you have any desires, or would you have any concerns to see Ollie Skip and Pierre-Emile Højbjerg leave the club, either this window or the next?
Should they be replaced? I would have no concerns about them moving on, as long as we got the right replacement in with the scouting network that we've got at the moment, with the way that we're signing players at the moment, barring one or two. The past 3 or 4 years have been pretty excellent in our recruitment. I can't complain about that. So judging by what's gone on recently, I would have no concerns about them being moved on. I don't see them as an integral part of the team or squad going forward. With Højbjerg, got 18 months left, not really getting offered a new deal. Skip doesn't really get involved on a regular basis. So probably best to move them on, even Skip being homegrown. We've got a lot coming through the academy. You look at Alfie Devine at Port Vale on loan.
Doing things over there, isn't he? Looks really good.
Very good. So even though if we move on a homegrown, we've got players coming through the academy. They're performing well, under 21s, under 18s, top of their league. So it's not really a concern of mine moving players on. It's just as long as we get the right players in.
Well, we're definitely going to talk about that sort of side of things in the second half, or in about sort of 10 minutes time. Just carrying on with the game's performances, mate. I think the player that sort of divides opinion right now more than any, there's two camps. One is give the guy time and you have to support our players. The other is haven't seen anything like valuation or value for money in the early stages. And this is Brennan Johnson. I was someone who initially, when we first were linked with the guy in the summer, my initial thoughts were absolutely no interest in him. Don't really want him. Think we could spend the money better. Then I spoke to a few Nottingham Forest fans that also happen to be Welsh, and they said, don't worry, the guy has got everything in him to learn whatever's asked of him. He's an intelligent kid. And the reason why you only see one style of football from him is because that's the style that Nottingham Forest have asked of him. But he can learn and adapt and grow and become whatever the coach will ask. And I think obviously that's what Tottenham hopefully have seen in him, because if we signed a player just for his pace and what he's done at Nottingham Forest, getting in behind, then when you play a possession-based system like Tottenham do, what we've seen of him in the past isn't really what we're going to need of him now going forward. And so I wonder, generally speaking, I mean, I thought yesterday he was really, really poor. Let me know your thoughts on him yesterday, and let me know what your thoughts are on him, as a going concern. Are you which camp are you in, basically?
I'm sitting on the fence with him. I'm like, I'm not going after him, but I'm like not defending him. Like yesterday was indefensible. It was a very, very poor performance by him. He was not tracking back at all. Lazy to get back on side. Stop it. Very lazy getting back on side yesterday. Final ball wasn't good enough. Didn't press. And that's the one thing that we thought we brought him for, was his pressing, his intensity and everything. And that he just didn't really have that energy about him yesterday. I felt it wasn't what we were accustomed to when we first signed him, what we thought we were going to get from him. That was the disappointing thing. Look, he's got time. I'm not one, like, in terms of to defend him, but we have to back him because he's our player. Like, I'm in the back him camp. I've always said players need a year to bed in.
Yeah, especially young ones, right?
Or 18 months, comparing when you're signing in January. Like, you got that 6-month period to bed in, and then you saw it with Porro, it took him 6 months to bed in. You're seeing them now. And I just feel like there is a player in there. We've all said it, there's a player in there. You just need to wait. Ange needs to get it out of him. But when you continuously have these frustrating performances, you're going to see fans starting to, well, have we overpaid? Waste of money, all this. And if he sees this, it ain't going to help with his confidence, which is not a good thing. But I do believe we may have overpaid for him. I don't feel like he's a Postecoglou signing, in terms of he's not being bought. Like, if we bought him for what he's doing at Forest, it's a completely different style.
Correct.
Of what we're doing here. Yeah. And obviously Forest, the news has come out, they have been they're in trouble financially, and it's very similar to someone upstairs what he done at Everton when he found out that they were struggling financially. So I'm sort of...
Oh, you think that's what it was? You think we took advantage? You think, okay, interesting.
I do think so. Okay. It's very similar situations at both clubs there.
Well, okay, well, listen, we're going to part that, but we'll put a pin in that conversation for when we get to the Daniel Levy kind of where we're at and what we're doing and moving forward thing. Like I say, just quickly finishing off the main takeaways. Obviously, someone put in the comments there, Trevor Cook, saying the team was also sick. Yeah, look, I thought it was just a solo, individual illness for Kulu, but according to Ange, a lot of people were struggling with the, with the kind of
Dogi and Skippy were the two you mentioned.
Udogi, yeah. And so, look, good performances from if there any level of energy was sapped away because of fighting bugs and things, then to run for 90 minutes, it's was pretty impressive, especially from Udogi. Timo Werner, mate, just quickly on the kind of on the debut, new appearances, new signings role. I mean, what's your thoughts on Timo generally as a player for Tottenham, and obviously like yesterday's debut? How do you think he did?
On some moving away from Brendan Johnson onto Timo Werner, someone that I think perfectly suits Ange Postecoglou's system.
Right.
Best scoring season came under a progressive ball playing manager in Julian Nagelsmann. He had those 3 amazing seasons, getting almost 100 goals, contributions, goals and assists combined. Went to Chelsea under Thomas Tuchel, low block, that counter-attacking doesn't really suit his style. Even though he's got the pace, he can do it. But I just feel like Werner yesterday, kind of similar to the way he was playing at Chelsea, not clinical, had that one half chance where first half where he put it wide of the post. Decent assist that he laid on. Look, it was a decent debut. Didn't set the world alight. Didn't make any howlers. Nice, comfortable, honest performance. He hasn't played for a month or so through injury, or a couple of months. So getting back to full fitness, playing. Overall, I think that transfer, it was one of them that just suited all parties down to a T. We get a decent player, he's going to get match fitness. Leipzig get a loan fee and get his wages off the book if he's not going to be playing. So it was a smart deal that everyone was involved in, which worked out well. I do think he will get goals and assists in this Spurs team, without a doubt.
Nice, mate. Yeah, I like that. I think you summed that up really well. Yeah, it certainly wasn't like a performance that's going to live in the annals of history of a debut for a player. But I think you're absolutely spot on with the assessment of the transfer, and I think he's going to surprise a lot of people to the upside. As long as we continue to, if we get the team back, get the best versions of ourselves back, playing good football again, I think he will be the beneficiary. I think if he gets an early goal as well, like if he scores against City or against Brentford in one of these games coming up, and that kind of monkey is off his back, so to speak, then I think he will. I think he'll flourish and thrive. Whether or not he'll do enough for me to warrant going after a permanent transfer in the summer, I think he'll have to put in a really good shift over the next 6 months, because I think that talking about the FFP, there's going to be a story. I mean, that announcement's coming out any time now in the next couple of hours. And by the way, chat, I will be, as soon as that's announced, I have scheduled a live stream for 6 p.m. to go through that. But if the news breaks earlier, I might be back earlier. If it doesn't break until later on tonight, then I'll be. But as soon as there's updates on who's in trouble and what that looks like, I will be going live and bringing that to you. Just to finish off the kind of individual performances, mate. How good was it to see the back four, the band get back together yesterday? Udogi, Porro, Romero, and Van der Ven. Like, it was almost like they hadn't been away, considering they haven't played football in a while together, or in 2 cases at all for several weeks, if not months. Thoughts on Van der Ven and Romero specifically?
Excellent. You can tell they just like it was. It's like they've never been away. The only nervous part was we're about 5 minutes to go when Van der Ven went down, and obviously we were on the opposite side at Old Trafford, and it looked like he was holding his leg. Well, he was holding his leg, and we all thought, "Oh no, it's gone again." But hopefully, it's just cramp.
Yeah, it is. Yeah, I think they said it.
Cramp, so, which is good to get 85 minutes back into your legs, full throttle in a big Premier League game, not breaking down. Again, which can be accustomed to with hamstring and muscular injuries, the reoccurrence because you're giving it your all. The fact it didn't break down again, and he's building up that match fitness much quicker now, because he didn't, it wasn't like a 20-30 minute like easing him back in. He went straight in there, lasted 5 minutes. It'll only make that stronger. So, I'm expecting a fully fit Van der Ven come Man City, which is going to be a sight to behold, especially if they don't have Erling Haaland.
Yeah, Yeah, listen. Well, they haven't got Erling Haaland, but they do have Kevin De Bruyne back. Just quickly, let's before we talk about the bigger picture stuff, I just want to pivot a little bit to the Man City game. I
Yeah.
put out a poll on Twitter and in on my community page here, and I think it was misinterpreted because the amount of comments that were calling me a bozo for only giving negative outcomes. I said, what would you rather happen? Man United beat Man United, lose to City, beat City, lose to United, draw both, and have to go back to the Etihad for the replay. And it was like hundreds of comments saying, well, of course we want to win both. And I had to clarify, like, I'm not saying what do you want to happen and how optimistic are you of both victories, but really I was trying to gauge what the priority of the fan base is this season right now. Is it to lift a trophy, to get past City and go on the FA Cup run, even if it comes at the expense of Premier League points? Or is it to get into the Champions League, maybe even go on we have to take a crazy run, but to get into a title race and then make sure you got that money to go, for the bigger picture next year. What was am I right in thinking that for you, trophies is the most important thing?
Both. When it comes to the FA Cup, there's only one round that's midweek. So from then on in, which the fifth round. From then on in, it's one game a week. There shouldn't be an issue in terms of playing your strongest team from now to the end of the season. Obviously, if I had the choice, if it was one or the other, FA Cup, I've been starved of trophies my entire life with one League Cup. But fifth place can get Champions League football. I believe Opta Stats had it about a 72% chance of fifth place getting Champions League this season.
Really? Okay.
Yeah. So it is quite highly that fifth place, and we're 6 points or 8 points clear of West Ham, who are sixth at the moment.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
And if we're the only,
so we're 72% chance, even with Spain and Germany and Italy,
because it's done on who wins their the respective competitions, really. So what's best. So it's not just
probably likely that Liverpool might win the Europa League and Villa might win the Conference League.
Yeah. So that's probably why it's so high. But obviously, funny things happen in Champions Leagues and Europa Leagues and Conference Leagues. We've seen it. We've been there. We know how funny the game is. But honestly, I think we can aim higher than just fifth or fourth, to be honest. I really like the way we're playing. I really like the team. I really love the manager, the way we're playing football, the way we're passing it about, the players we've got in, the way that they've brought into it all. It is exciting times. It is very exciting times to be a Spurs fan. I'm going to games. I'm enjoying the games. I'm getting, sucked in, watching the game when last seasons before, be on my phone, watching the game, like just chatting away, not really I'm fully sucked in and focused on the game.
Yeah. I think we all are. I mean, I don't know whether or not part of the reason why everyone is so massively behind Ange is because it's such a significant 180 from the football that was offered to us via Antonio Conte. If we'd been relatively more successful or the football had been better, and for whatever reason there was a fallout at board level, but the shift from what we were offered to what we now have wasn't quite as dramatic, do you think that Tottenham fans would have embraced this new era quite as much as they have? Or is it specifically because of the fact that we were so starved of not just success, but entertainment under the last sort of three managers?
I do think it was to do with just not having, the entertainment factor. That's all fans that we've seen, especially online, or just out there. All they wanted to do was go and enjoy the game, watch their team play football, and just sitting back and, defending for our lives was boring. It was boring. And there was periods, although there was periods under Conte, there was periods under Mourinho where we did play some nice football. But of course, they go back to the way that they were, and it was boring. There's nothing. I do feel the upturn in Ange, even if it wasn't as big, as long as we saw the signs that things were going in the right direction. The first thing that made me incredibly happy when we signed Ange is the fact we gave him a 4-year deal. That was the first. We gave him a long contract. This shows it was we were going to give him time. We were going to give him a year or two. We're going to give him a few players just to allow him to develop and integrate into his squad, make it his system, make it his football team, which was a good thing to start just to see. And we're seeing the fruits of that, even though it's a bit early on. We're only 6 months into it, but as I said, it's very exciting. I'm very happy with the way that we are going about things as a football club for the first time in probably 5 or 6 years.
Yeah, same, mate. I completely agree. I think that takes us swiftly on to, I guess, what we're really here to talk about is where we're at, where we have been, and kind of what you, I guess, not that you speak for an entire swathe of the fan base, but you are a representation of a kind of a thought process, of a kind of an energy, if you like, around Tottenham. So I do want to get your thoughts. I did invite Brian Daigle on to join as well earlier, but he's got to go to bed. I think he starts his new job tomorrow. Good luck to Brian.
Yeah.
If you're watching, just before we get into it, Scripton Wands, I think that's Scripting Wands, I think that's how you say it, has become a new YouTube member. Really appreciate your support of the channel, my man. Looking forward to meeting you. I'm hoping to do, if everything goes well today with the timings of the announcements of the FFP stuff, I am hoping to get a member phone-in show to get the thoughts of you lot who are members of the channel. I've been promising it for a while. So I appreciate the support. We've got big up Phil P saying Shawnee and Ryan, the meeting of minds. Woo! Good to see you, mate. Good to see you. And big up Ben Kaufman for putting that link in the chat for Tottenham on tour. As I say, guys, it's also in the title. So if you enjoy what Ryan says, or even if you know very much about Ryan, but you haven't yet subscribed to Tottenham on tour, then make sure you get over there. The link's in the title or in the chat now, and hit that subscribe button for their wonderful channel over there, where I think Ben is also a part of it, of course. So doing some self publication there, Benny boy. I see you. Right, Ryan. Let's get straight into it, mate. Levy out. You are part of the Levy out, or have been. I'm guessing you still are.
Still are.
How? Well, let's talk about it. Let's get this straight out there. How do you feel about Daniel Levy as an owner of Tottenham Hotspur since 2002 when he came in? 2001, 2002 when he came in.
Obviously, being born in 2000, he's the only chairman owner of Tottenham Hotspur I've known, which doesn't give me a great assessment of previous owners like Sugar and others. But look, I've kind of felt like he's a victim of his own success, bearing where we were in the early 2000s, late 90s, etc., where we were down in dumps in financial issues, potentially could have potentially gone bust, and taken us from the early 2000s to, let's say, 10, 12 years later, top 4, challenging for Europe, European places where many of my generation would never have seen before. But the lack of silverware at the time, we won the cup, won League Cup, great trophy in a decade. Moving on to the next decade or next 12 years onwards, between say 2012 till now, it's pretty much stagnated, and that's the thing that irks me. We haven't gone on to lift more silverware. Where I've always said, there was a great commentary line in the Champions League final where the commentator said, the currency for success in football is trophies, and Liverpool hit the Champions League jackpot.
Yeah,
trophies will always be the currency of success. It'll always be what fans crave. Fans like me crave. We don't live off a spreadsheet of signings like some fans will. Look, we've got this deal done for this amount of money. We got it. It's never interested me. I just want the good players in, the bad players out, and winning silverware. Top 4 Champions League runs, it's great. It's brilliant what he's done. The stadium, the training ground, I will not knock it. It's fantastic. But I've always said that, when does a new stadium just become a stadium? Like, we used a new stadium. We've used COVID as an excuse as to why we haven't brought the players in that we could have, the likes of Jack Grealish, who wasn't an expensive buy at the time. You look now, he's gone for 100 million. Paulo Dybala, 70 million. We decided to go for a slightly cheaper option, a big cheaper option. Jack Clark, yes, he's ripping it up in the Championship, never got a game for Spurs. So there's bits in the holes where you can say Levy's done a brilliant job, and yes, there are deals where he's done where you can say unbelievable. James Maddison, net spend of 30 million on him is an absolutely brilliant signing. Rafael van der Vaart, to get him for £11 million, you know, an unbelievable coup. But it's when you know, especially under Pochettino, you look at Pochettino's team, and it was there. The 11 was there. 12 if you want to throw maybe in like a Kieran Trippier who you could replace, you know, for Kyle Walker. But it had the nucleus there. Everything was there to go to take that one big step. Go bring in those two. I put a tweet out, and it's like, when does buying smart still win you trophies, or do you still need to spend on those 3 or 4? And I use this in inverted commas, game-changing signings.
Mm-hmm.
That's what the stadium was taught us. It was supposed to be like this game-changing. You know, we can buy the next level player. So it's all well and good buying smart, but do we still need, which is what Pochettino needed and asked for at the time when he referenced the couch and the chair, you know, the house, you know, everything. He doesn't go that extra mile to go and bring in like a Bruno Fernandes at the time, who was sought after, you know, a Kevin De Bruyne. You saw City, you know, Liverpool, Van Dijk and Alisson, you know, taking them to the next level. It's that next level signings, you know, and you have to pay the money that the club are asking for. I mean, Dragusin is a perfect example. We almost lost out to him. Yes, we got him in the end, thanks to him being honest and sticking to his word, which is what Ange wanted. You know, it's all about the personalities in the camp. But he was our first choice target, and then, you know, trying to penny pinch, dropping the deal lower and lower, it almost cost us the deal. It almost cost us the transfer. Who knows if we put the bid in that they wanted, 30 million on day 2, if Bayern came in day 3, none of us would really have complained. He would have said, look, he identified the target with Paratici and Lange. They put the money on the table, but he chose Bayern. There's not a lot you can do there. But when you're haggling for 5 million, it always seems to be 5 million every single time. 5 million just to knock it off. And there's a reason why other clubs don't particularly like doing business with him. There is a reason behind it.
Yeah, he's definitely a tough negotiator.
He's a tough negotiator, but it doesn't help Spurs at times.
You're right. I guess my sort of counter to the stagnation, or the perceived stagnation over the last 12 years, is really the shift outside of the variable, like the external variables, right? Like I would say pre-Abramovich, Tottenham were in the progress mode, trying to catch up, whilst also trying to stay within our means, trying to build the new stadium. Obviously, I know this is a really unpopular take, but I genuinely believe that getting to the Champions League final when we did was probably the worst thing that could have happened. I don't know if you follow the stock market or whatever, but if you see,
I can go along with that. To be fair, we weren't ready for it as a football.
I don't think we were ready for it, and I think that it happened at the same time as just taking on a massive, significant debt for the stadium. I think that there was a lot of distractions and disruptions, and a lot of cash flow that was already prioritized for other areas. And had we, you know, got to the quarterfinals, got to the last 16, I think the expectations wouldn't have been quite what they were. If you look at like a price of any share, when it goes parabolic, you know, the experts always say you need to have times of consolidation. Otherwise, if it keeps doing that, then it's going to crash. It's the way that the stock market works. And I think that you could look at in life at growth as the same sort of concern. That the two worst things that can happen to any business is, one is to grow too slowly, and the other one is to grow too fast. And I think that Tottenham in 2018 happened to grow a little bit too fast, and the fans' expectation around what was then necessary was reallocated to a standard that was unachievable for an owner and an ownership model that doesn't have sugar daddy money. And when the rules weren't in place to protect from, to give other teams a chance, you know, FFP is a relatively new thing, and even since it's been in place, is only now and literally today or this season where you're starting to see some consequences for people that are sort of breaking the rules or trying to skirt around the system. Even Manchester City have been breaking the rules for the last 8 years, allegedly, but we're not going to find out about their consequences for their actions until October next year. The rules are now starting to catch up. And
apparently they're changing the rules. So City can't be charged for previous rule breaks because they're changing the rules now.
but the law will still be in place until I think after the fact, right? I think going forward that might be the case, but they'll still face the consequences for what happened then as of next October if they're found guilty, and we don't know what's going to happen, right? We'll see what happens there. We'll wait. That's for something to discuss closer to the time. But I would say that part of the concern that people that are in the Levy out camp, I don't think give enough consideration to, is that one of the reasons, and I don't call them excuses, I call them more explanations. One of the explanations as to why Tottenham haven't won as much silverware as we could or should have done is because of the likes of Chelsea having sugar daddy money coming in and buying success. The likes of, I mean, if you look at, I think it's like 93% now of all of the trophies that have been won since Daniel Levy came into power in 2001 have been won by 5 teams. 3 of them have always been bigger than Tottenham, and the other 2 are teams that have come along since Daniel Levy's era, but have had money pumped in to support that narrative. And that might not necessarily be okay with everybody else if you're someone that just wants to compete and trophies is everything. But I would argue if it's not, we're going to shift the conversation to where we're at now, because I hope you would agree that we're moving in the right direction under what's happened in the last sort of 18 months. But if not Daniel Levy, then who would you like to come in to run the club? Is a question I always want to ask.
I was going to ask you to bring up the comment of Doug Hill 139, which is basically asking the same thing.
Where's that? Doug Hill
139. We always get asked Levy out as who do you want then? Who do you want? Whenever the way I can perfectly phrase this is, if you go into a restaurant and you don't get the food that you asked for, you don't go, the people don't come to you and say, well, what chef do you want? You just you give your assessment on the meal you've been given or what you've been given. If it's not good, you don't go there anymore. Obviously, as fans, we can't not go there. We keep going because we love our club. So it's not up to me to suggest what restaurant or what or.
Okay, well, not a specific owner then. Not like I'm not asking you to name like a certain billionaire necessarily, but
there's millions out there. There's people who want to take over will decide eventually when they want to come in and take over a football club. But we as fans can give our opinion and give our discrepancies when we are unhappy with what we've been given.
Yeah. I completely respect the right to vent your frustration. But like, if you see the Newcastle owners, for example, have come in now, right? And they're the wealthiest family, wealthiest PIL, like the People's Investment Fund of Saudi Arabia, have got more money than grains of sand. But they can't do anything right now because the rules prohibit them from doing it, because their club doesn't generate the same money. And so they're sitting there with a bottleneck on a purse string. And Tottenham have an owner that has done everything it can to try to increase the revenue streams of the overall organization through things that get scoffed at and ridiculed by a lot of fans, like the go-karting, like the commercial stuff, the resources within the stadium. All of those things get kind of dismissed or ridiculed, but ultimately they are the reason, or one of the major reasons, why Tottenham are now in a position where we don't have to worry about FFP, and why there's opportunities that now present themselves that we can go after players in the window and not face the same competition.
Even being Levy out, many Levy outs like Brian Daigle, as you know, Ben Kaufman's Levy out. You got loads in the chat. Tony Rodriguez, Tom 81, just to name a few. The one thing Spurs fans have always said is the fact that he has kept us on a shoestring budget, which has helped us with FFP. We have always acknowledged that, but then we've used that as a reason.
Would you say a shoestring budget?
Yeah,
how much money have we spent? We spent £120 million on average every year since the stadium's been built.
We sold Harry Kane for 100 million. We've constantly had sales. The amount of money we have brought in terms of the club revenue, the streams, the concerts, the NFL, the boxing, all the events, player sales, beer money, all of this equates to money generated by the club for on field for the team. That's his words. Everything generated by that stadium will be used for the football team.
It has been, right? It hasn't been taken. There's been no money taken out of the club for the owners, apart from their salaries.
Do you agree with him giving himself a £500,000 pay rise last year, based on last year? Be honest.
I mean, I think
was it warranted? at the time?
I mean, that's a subjective thing that personally, it doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. Doesn't bother me in the slightest bit. The guy, I know the guy is apparently the number one paid chairman in the Premier League, but for an organisation that brings in 600 million, 550 million pound of revenue every year and is valued at about 6 billion pound, generally 5 billion pounds, something like that. If you were to equivocate that to the average salary and compensation in total of all of the CEOs of comparably valued companies on the FTSE 250 or the FTSE 100, he gets
Mhm.
paid about 25% as much as they do. So
Yeah.
in terms of getting value for money as a job, especially when you're not taking dividends out, I don't think he is necessarily overpaid at all.
But at the time, I just don't. That's the thing. Everyone has their grievances with something with Levy. I'm sure you do. You might not say, Levy out, Levy. You're very much down the middle, and I respect that. Everyone's entitled to their opinion, but everyone will have the grievances. Where some are with trophies, some are with the players we haven't gotten. And last season was a big breaking point. I mean, last season with everything that went on, we all knew Harry Kane was going, because of the season we had, no European football, the Conte debacle, the Stellini debacle. It wasn't the 500k. It was more the timing of it last year. Everything just didn't sit right with him, and the public coming out that again say that he gave himself a pay rise. That's what doesn't sit well with me about it. Overall, look, as a chairman, he's done wonderful things for Tottenham off the pitch. It's now time that let's see. He predicted this. He predicted FFP around this period of time.
Mhm.
Let's see what he does to deliver it. If he's predicted this and this is where his journey is, that is taking us, you will see me in 3-4 years' time, because that's the amount of time I'll give him. 3-4 years.
Yeah.
Ange's contract. If everything goes well with Ange shouldn't want to leave and everything. He should want to stay. There's no reason why Ange would want to leave.
Right.
So there's 3-4 years there. FFP's coming in. We're seeing it now with what's happening with Everton, Forest, the City rumours. Let's see where that goes. Chelsea potentially. Let's see if he can actually build this squad up with FFP, and let's see where it takes us. Backing the manager, giving the manager what he needs. Sometimes not haggling the 3-4-5 million. What's the difference for a millionaire? The difference between 30 million and 35 million in football transfer terms, it's nothing. 5 million is nothing. The definition of peanuts nowadays. And if I'd like to see us just go for that next step, and we've seen it before with Levy, under Poch, he didn't quite go for it, and that's where a lot of fans did turn, was with Poch. Let's see if he does it with Ange. Okay, look,
for me, I think that I just feel like I know we often tout back to the Jack Grealish and the Fernandes thing, and we missed it for a biscuit kind of thing, and I totally agree. Right, if there was a general desire, and I think that we've seen some ex scouts come out and intimate that, for me, I think sometimes you always, like, people that want to defend Daniel Levy will all, and I've been accused of this many times, will look for rationales as to why he's not the devil, and then and find loopholes in the arguments of people that have been there and seen it and been a participant in the story, and then come out and spoken badly of Daniel Levy in certain aspects of his game. And then people that are looking to blame Daniel Levy for everything will latch on to whatever information is out there that supports that narrative. That's just human nature, and I totally get it. And I think that there have been, ex-scouts, ex-directors of football, ex-people within the club that have come out and kind of said that Daniel Levy gets involved in too many of the transfers. He shouldn't be. He should be the guy who's ultimately given the target, given the name of the targets, and then the people should be advising him on what is the correct valuation of the player. And when it comes to the negotiations, to a degree, I don't think Daniel Levy should be necessarily always the guy who's in the negotiation room either. I think that there should be people that are at least intermediaries or people like Paratici, directors of football, that are doing that job.
On Levy is literally he should just be there as the money maker. That's his thing, money. It's always
should be. Yeah.
This is your budget. Let's say 150 million for January for the summer. How many players does Ange want or need? 3, 4. There's your budget. You got 4 players, 150 million. Try and get the best deal possible. If this particular player that you really want, your number one target, doesn't quite fit into the budget, move on and get the second one. You don't need to negotiate for that long. If you feel this player is worth, say, 40 million, but they want 60, don't try and unless you can actually get it done quickly and say, okay, fine, we'll go 50 plus 5 just to meet up, which clubs have done. There's no point spending days or weeks just trying to negotiate 5-10 mil off. That's the grievance. Like, I personally think Levy should just go, here's your budget, go after the player you want. I know it's not FIFA and it doesn't work like that, but there's a budget. Here's the expected value for the player, 30 million, 40 million, whatever. And you've got 3-4 players you can work for with 150 million that you can spend on. That is literally what we're looking at nowadays. If you look at it with our 3-4 main targets that we got in the summer, Van de Ven was 40 million, Maddison 40 million, Johnson 45-50 million. So we're working in that kind of mindset.
That's the ballpark. Yeah, listen, I agree, and I think every time Tottenham have gone, and it's not just Tottenham for what it's worth. I think if you were to look for a list of, the top 20 most expensive British transfers over the last, of all time, even though most of them will have come in the last sort of 5 years, the vast majority of them haven't really proven to be value for money at all, or at least if not yet, right? Like the Caicedo certainly hasn't proven to be worth the money. Arguments about Jack Grealish. I mean, maybe his second season was better than his first season was rubbish. Lukaku, absolute disaster from Tottenham's perspective. Ndombele, Lo Celso, Reguilon, Sanchez. The list goes on, right? Who was the other one? Sorry,
Sessegnon.
Ryan Sessegnon. Exactly. Yeah, like Tottenham have got a horrible track record when we do put out the checkbook on big players. We usually get it wrong. And I guess that, brings me back to the worry, not to get back onto the topic of Brennan Johnson, expensive, a lot of risk, paying almost for perfection. When you're paying 45-50 million pounds for a 21-year-old, the guy has to live up to it and expectations versus reality. Where I would absolutely give the Levy out frustrations absolute credit is in Daniel Levy's determination to be a negotiator. He's a businessman and he wants to negotiate. That's his thing. It's probably like, cocaine to a druggie or, a beer to an alcoholic. He loves the negotiation. He loves the tussle. And I do think that he generally in the past has seen negotiations as a zero-sum game where he thinks that someone has to win and someone has to lose. And he'll be damned if it's him that's going to lose the negotiation. And he'd rather cut his nose to spite his face, by not paying the extra couple of million here or there. What I don't know, and I don't think any of us know, is what are the conversations that happen before the negotiations start. For example, with Radu Dragusin, when that looked like it was taking too long and the knives were sharpening, everyone was saying, oh, just pay the money, just pay what they're asking. And I think that that's a silly approach to take in business. I think it's a silly approach to take in life. You have to have your own perceived value of whatever it is that you're doing, whether it's buying a TV, whether it's buying a car, buying, or going out on a date with a girlfriend or a boyfriend, whatever your fancy is. Like, I feel like you have to have your own perceived value and know what you expect for whatever you're willing to give. And I think that Daniel has an issue with sometimes not willing to budge, not willing to be able to compromise and see the other side. But at the same time, this argument that he always misses it for 5 million, I would hope that in the future, if not the past, he is at least having conversations with people that know football, i.e. the Paraticis, the Rob McKenzies, the Scott Munns, if that's his gig, whoever it is that's supposed to identify the player, he should be having conversations going, all right, how much is this player worth in reality? What's the comparable? Who is he comparable to in terms of valuation? And then how much is he worth to that team? How much is the loss how much are they going to miss him? How valuable is he to us? Because there's always different levels of perceived value. There's the market value, and then there's the value to you, sentiment, just like in life, like you're losing a picture of your dog or something is meaningless in market value, but priceless, to the person. And how much is he worth to the other team? And I think I'll give the Levy out credit that in the past, I don't think Daniel Levy has necessarily gone into negotiations understanding the perceived value. And I think he's gone in with his I'm going to win this battle, and if I don't win it, then I'm not going to shake hands. And I hope that now he's surrounded himself with more people that have a higher degree of knowledge and education on the footballing side, and allowing them to get that information into his head, or whoever's head it is that's doing the negotiation. Do you think that we're seeing signs of that in the last sort of 12 months?
I'd go even as far as the past 3 years. Our recent
Since Paratici, is it?
Since Paratici, yeah. That is one of the best signings he's done at this club, was off the pitch, funny enough. That Paratici is coming and he's ripped up everything that this club was doing wrong under who was the one previous to him? Not Mitchell.
Hitchin.
Hitchin. Everything was, the signings that Hitchin made, completely the opposite to what Paratici has made. Paratici has made he's brought in young talent, experienced talent that improves us on the pitch, ripped up the academy pretty much. We've got rid of the academy wage structure, so we can bring in more talented youngsters into the academy. So I have absolute praise to give to Daniel Levy for bringing in Paratici, letting him run the ship for about 2 years.
And standing by him when throughout his legal, because I was sitting there, I'll be honest, I hold my hands up.
He said he's got to go.
I said the same. I said he's got to go, and I can't believe Daniel Levy will stand by him through this. There's something going on there, but he did, and it looks like it's to our benefit, right?
Yeah, and hopefully, when his band's up, he'll be straight back in place, because he is brilliant at what he's doing at the moment for this club. Daniel Levy has, we say, one last chance. This really is one last chance, because the fan base is so in on Ange. We're so in on Paratici. We're so in on the team. We've united everything. The one thing the fans quite haven't united yet is on Daniel Levy. So this is pretty much Daniel Levy's last chance. I genuinely think this. I think if he does not give Ange everything he wants and needs, to a discretion, I'm not saying if Ange says, look, go and get me Haaland from Man City, pay 200, it's never going to happen. It's not going to happen. But within the means of the possibility, by going that extra mile and giving Ange the best possible opportunity to win and succeed at this club, you will see a lot of people like myself, like Brian Daigle, go, okay, we're ready to listen. We're ready to hear what you've got to do as a chairman of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club, rather than go, Levy out, he's not done this, he's not done this. If he can prove that, we will quite happily say, and we will be delighted, because we will see Tottenham succeed, winning silverware. The whole fan base will be happy. I'd love to go dancing down Tottenham High Road after seeing us lift the Premier League next season by 10 points. No,
I agree. I think that people have to be reasonable, right?
Standing outside the training ground mid-January, freezing cold, holding up a banner. Yeah, I'd much rather be in a pub, watching, having a few drinks with you, and them standing outside the club shop.
Yeah, look, I mean, I think that there's always going to be an element, I said this the other day, in politics, right? There's always going to be people that, no matter how badly the Conservatives do, they're going to vote Conservative. And there'll always be people that, no matter how badly Labour do, they're always going to vote Labour. But you hope in life that the 80% or the 70% majority in the middle can be persuaded by good arguments to move the country, or whatever the topic is, in the right direction. And I'm really impressed with Brian and yourself and people like you that have held the club to account. And I think it's necessary as well. I said this the other day. I think that whilst Twitter, I think, is a toxic cesspit generally, when things go bad, when things look like it's about to, some disappointing news is going to come, I always know the knives are sharpening and the Levy thing starts trending and stuff. But to a degree, I think it's necessary. I think it is necessary to get so that the club the club that will employ social media people, they're keeping an eye on the kind of they're keeping a touch on the temperature of where the energy and the feed of the fan base is. And Daniel Levy will be aware when Levy out is trending, and sometimes it's reasonable, rational, sometimes it's irrational and unreasonable. And I think that it's important that there always needs to be an element of the fan base who you'd hope are reasonable, but also that keep that foot down on the accelerator of pressure to keep the club moving in the right direction. Because I do think Daniel Levy is also capable, very capable, of taking his eye off the prize and going back to what's all about the bottom number, right? Champions League is the money from Champions League is more important than the cost of what it's going to take to get you from third place to first place in the Premier League. Because there, to your point, there is that. Right, we've got a great nucleus now, but in order to go and compete with Manchester City and Liverpool over 38 games, obviously the cups are different, right? The cups there's a lot of luck that comes into cups, right? The draw, the whatever, right? But in terms of over the 38 games of the season, I think that's the best barometer of where you are as a football club. And for me, despite the lack of success in lifting trophies over the last 20 years, I think that the general trend for Tottenham is obviously, again, like step backs, pauses, declines in time. And the last 5 years has been poor, but generally the progress has been good. And I think Daniel Levy should deserve credit for keeping us relatively competitive.
Yeah.
In the face of certain clubs abusing financial opportunities that they've got away with.
Yeah. I'm quite happy. Look, as I said, I don't want to be outside the training ground. I don't want to be outside the club shop. The protests have stopped. They've stopped since I think about October, November for a few reasons. One, we've had
things are looking good.
Six or seven. No, it wasn't just the fact that it started off well, because we don't want to be seen as fans that are like
flip-flops or whatever. Yeah.
Flip-flops, but also, you don't want to be seen as, oh, you're only doing it, but reactionary.
Yeah, good. Reactionary. Good word.
But people have lives outside of football, and most of our games from October onwards, Fulham, Chelsea, they're all Monday, Friday. So getting people there for 5 o'clock, 3 hours before kickoff, to put up and stand outside in the pouring rain, it wasn't feasible because people had work there to go home. They're not going to get there till 7 o'clock. What are you going to do? Put up the banners and take them down in 10 minutes? There's no point. And the other reason is that when we had the odd game Saturday and Sunday, yes, we were doing well, but it was November, December, January time. By 3 o'clock, it gets dark, so no one can see the banners. So, look, I'm happy with the season so far. I'm happy with the business that's been done, especially in January. I'm happy with the fact that we've had our earliest signings brought in since Kumalu in 2011. I can't remember his first name. What was it? Bongani.
Yeah. Bongani. Yeah. Did he play a game for Tottenham? I don't think he did he?
He maybe played like 12 minutes in a cup game.
Yeah.
I would like.
What about the rest of the January window? If it was to finish as it is right now, no more outgoings, no more ingoings, would you still consider this a satisfactory window, or do you have more expectations?
I'd like one more in, at least one more. One more in. And I think that still holds a lot on whether we get a deal done for Højbjerg. I do see a little bit more movement out. I can see Brian Gill going out on loan again, but rumours are he doesn't want to go unless there's an obligation or option in the contract.
It's interesting, that, isn't it? That he doesn't want to go. Like, usually he's the first one who wants to. He's not happy in the cold weather, but he seems to have bought into Ange as well. He seems happy.
Well, maybe it's the winter break. He wants to go to Dubai first, and then
yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, Reguilon could be going away to Brentford on loan. Don't know if there's going to be an option involved there. Højbjerg, obviously, is he going to stay? Is he go? Skip, I think, will stay. So I think there's 3 or 4 that might be going out before the deadline. If one of them is Højbjerg, I can definitely see one coming in. I think there might be a little sweetener at the end. If we can get 2 in, if we can get another centre back in. I'm looking at Tosin Adebayo from Fulham because I really do like the player.
Yeah, he's a great player. I like him as well.
Really like him. He's strong. He's got 6 months left on his deal. If we can get him in there, and then we've sort of replaced Dyer. Tosin as well as homegrown.
And the homegrown improvement and all that stuff as well, right?
Won't be a lot on the wage bill. You won't imagine. As well as that, I tell you what, he's got Lloris off the wage bill. He's got Dyer off the wage bill, and he's got Harry Kane. No matter how much we're disappointed with it, off the wage bill, and that's what, almost 600,000 a week off the wage bill. So we've got wages to pay. We have got wages to pay.
And we only spent, I think Dragusin was only 50 grand a week. You know, when you think that you've got rid of Eric Dyer for 85, and you've replaced twice the player for half the money, or just over half the money. It's
excellent business.
Right?
And I'm happy to say when he's done good business, but you also have to then, if you're on the Levy inside, have to be also as honest to say when business hasn't been as good.
100%.
You look at the likes of Ndombele, you look at the likes of maybe Lo Celso, who's just coming into it but always gets injured. Ryan Sessegnon for 30 million.
Serge Reguilon.
Yeah, Sergio Reguilon.
Sanchez. I mean, the list goes on. I think that's the one that Tottenham's. I don't think Tottenham have ever had a problem spending money. I think we don't go and spend £100 million, that sort of money. But I don't think you need to. And I think in Ange, you've got a guy who's made it quite clear that he thinks that the difference between the level of the very, very best and the next level down isn't that significant in terms of technicality or technique or skill on the ball. It comes down to the mentality of the player, and I think that's a problem that Tottenham, again, Daniel Levy and whoever he's employed, has overlooked. In the likes of some of the, and I wonder whether Brennan Johnson for me is someone that also. I think that this might counteract my point, but in Brennan Johnson, I do wonder whether or not he has quite got that competitive bite to his mental kind of the side of his game. But everybody else that we seem to be employing of late has been someone that's bought into the
3 or 4, the likes of Jed Spence, Johnson at the moment. The signings that have been bought in the past 2 or 3 years, you cannot complain about it. Even as someone that's been Levy out as me, you have to say it's been excellent business by the club. But the likes of, especially when you've got a Conte in charge or a Mourinho, they're not going to want the likes of Joe Rodon or a Jed Spence. They're going to want the ready-made player now, which of course is going to cost you 4 or 5 times the amount of money you're going to pay for a Joe Rodon or a Jed Spence. So that's where the frustration lies. Like, if you're going to bring in a manager that is going to require the big players, that's going to cost you the big money, don't bring him in the first place.
Yeah, it's interesting because I think that the Conte signing was there from the Daniel Levy to appease some of the Levy out kind of, or that bigger energy, right? It was like, what, we're just going to give them what they want, shut them up for a little while, but ultimately it's another stick to actually to hit them with, He
ended up biting him even further. Ended up biting him
because he didn't give them what they needed. Like, if you're going to, I completely agree with you. If you're going to bring in a Conte, you have to give him, what he needs, and that what he would want would have been, an extra 300-400 million or 300 million spent on certain players. Yep. I mean, how many players do you think we are away from a title run next year?
I think we're in one now. I think we still are.
You think we're in the title challenge now? Do you still?
Yeah, I do feel we can, especially with the 2 signings we've made now. I think with a little bit of luck, 1 game a week, the other 3 or 4, I put Villa in there, 4 sides all have European football still. With a little bit of luck, we do need a run of the ball, run of VAR. We need to go on a winning run, similar to our final year at the Lane when we won 13 out of 14. But I don't see, even with City getting De Bruyne back, and we say every year City can't. I think if City do go on that 15-game run again, then hold your hands up. But I don't see. How many points are we on now? We're on 40.
40 points, yeah.
40 points, 21 played. 20 or 21 played.
21 played, yeah.
Yeah, so there's 51 points available, 91 points. I don't think 91 points. I think 91 points will be enough to win you the title. I don't see it going into the 90s.
Or are you saying that Tottenham need to win every game to win the league?
No, I don't think we do. I think I think mid-80s wins you the title, about 84, 85 this year, because everyone's taken points off each other this year.
You probably need to win the next. You win 14 of the last 18 or 17 games. You probably need to win 13 and draw 2, right?
If we can get into those final, the 4 out of those final 6 games, those 4 games before we play Sheffield United and Burnley, if we can go into, before we play, Newcastle, Liverpool, Arsenal, City, before we, if we can win 12 of them, then why not? If we can pick up 36, 37 points before we go into that 4-game period, then we will know. If we're 2 or 3 points off the pace, then we're right in it. So
that's super optimistic, mate. I was expecting. I didn't think you'd be.
It's more like we're getting Maddison back. Again, it all depends on injuries. Injuries are part of the game. But if we keep our 11 fit, we've added Dragusin for depth. We've added, and even with 1 game a week, you need that squad, because that means you're able to just rotate players around. Move. Pep does it brilliantly when you look at it. When 1 game he'll bring Doku in for pace, because he knows a high line, playing against Spurs, Doku will be electric in behind, because we're going to play a high line. Where 1 game he knows Bernardo Silva will come in and he can thread that pass through the eye of a needle. And that's what you need. I mean, you bring in someone like Timo Werner, or 1 game you can play Son through the middle, away at Anfield, Son through the middle, we're all screaming, and he can run through the middle, he's got the pace. We go at home to Burnley, penultimate game of the season. You'd probably say Son through the middle probably wouldn't be as lethal, because Burnley will sit incredibly deep. There'll be no space for him to work on, and maybe putting balls into the box where you've got Richarlison, Kulusevski can run in, might be a bit more useful. So you can rotate and use your squad even with 1 game a week. It's not just about match fitness. It's about picking the personnel that fits the opponent. Yeah. Which is what we now have with Werner, even Solomon, Richie, the midfield depth, Saar, Bissouma, Maddison. We've got the depth there to actually put a run together, which is... That's it.
I think for me, if we can just get through Brentford, beat Brentford, obviously, if we can get past Man City as well, absolutely sensational. And then by the time the next game happens, I think we'll then have Sonny back, Bissouma back, Saar back. Madison should be back by then.
Right. If we can go to Villa Park and get the win, then take notice of us.
Yeah. I don't disagree. And then if not this year, if this season does come a little bit too soon,
next year, you got to look at it.
Do we need a striker?
Yes,
a proper striker.
Yes, you need.
Who would you like to see at Tottenham?
I've always liked Gift Orban. I know he's gone off the boil this season a little bit, but I liked him as a young player. Can play across the front 3 as well. Depending on who's out, there's not many out-and-out goal scorers out there that you can rely on that Spurs would probably can afford, that would guarantee you 30, 40 goals a season, like a Haaland or a Kane.
Would you get that Santiago Jimenez from Feyenoord, or are you worried about the Dutch curse?
Dutch, yeah, that's always worried me. I think we should stick with the tried and tested. I think, look, if push comes to shove, Vlahovic at Juventus, you don't turn into a bad striker overnight. Fiorentina were playing some nice football over there. Juventus under Allegri, no one enjoys that over there. Under Allegri, it's very stagnant, similar to Conte ball, Mourinho ball. So maybe bring Vlahovic in for 50, 60 million.
You fancy him, yeah?
I do fancy him. I think he will bag goals.
I like Vlahovic. I think he's a good player.
There's also we're going to need 3 or 4 in the door. I mean, Gibbs White's a must in my opinion. I think. You
think Daniel Levy could? You were saying at the start of the show, Daniel. You think Daniel Levy that the Brennan Johnson deal was a little bit similar to the Richarlison deal, leaning into financial pressures? Do you think he'll go back to Nottingham Forest chairman and say, "Listen, I've just seen the BBC.
You like it? But it's very
advantageous, right? You got to take advantage of the opportunity.
every situation that comes out. But I look at it like we need 3 or 4 in, and you're going to have to move 3 or 4 out. I mean, like if you want to sustain a title challenge, you look what's happened at Arsenal, and don't want to bring them into it, but having and keeping Nketiah, keeping those kind of players that didn't get you across the line is why Arsenal are in the situation they are probably now. And they still don't want to sell Nketiah, which blows my mind. But the likes, if we do, especially from a Saudi league, get a 50, 60 million bid in for Rich, and we can get our money back and then reinvest it again, and bring in someone like a Vlahovic, then that can only be a positive. Move Højbjerg on, find the, whether, I know we're linked with Conor Gallagher, but if it's Conor Gallagher, bringing the...
Do you like Conor Gallagher?
I like Conor Gallagher. I really do like Conor Gallagher. I think he's a really good player in the right system. We saw it at Palace. He's got that tenacity, that energy. He reminds me a lot similar to Sarr, just with the energy, just does not stop running. Someone put it in the chat. Left back up, Anthony Robinson from Fulham. I'm
a massive fan of Robinson. I've been saying it for over a year and like 18 months, 2 years. I think he's a classy. I also like Rico Henry from Brentford. I don't know how bad his injury is going to be, but people will say that Anthony Robinson's got a heart defect, and so he's not he wouldn't pass medicals now. I don't know if you've heard that.
I haven't heard that, but with the medical things we've got in the world right now, don't think that's much of an issue. Ericsson plays with a heart monitor.
Yeah,
the Luton player is going to be playing with a heart monitor. Right, so I think it's good. I think that the Todibo has sailed. I think Tapsoba's sailed. So if we can find stick around in Fulham and sign, because when you're looking at third, fourth choice, just improving the depth, it's not just about. You can either go 2 ways with it. You can either find someone like, say, mentioned him before, the Fulham centre back Adebayo Tosin, that would probably be happy to sit on the bench. Or you try and go that extra mile and find someone that would replace someone in the starting 11, and then they drop down a level. So there's 2 ways to go.
Do you think though, like we see Ash Phillips's performance? I mean, got all those rave reviews. We bought this Luka Vuskovic who's coming in next January.
Yeah.
Do you think we need another centre back? Or is that the priority now?
Striker is definitely the priority.
Yeah,
but it's about improving the squad. And if you think you look at it,
next year we'll be playing hopefully in 4 competitions, right? In an ideal world, we're playing Champions League football.
Guaranteed.
You need more.
Yeah, we need to build the squad. We need to build young players. Right now, Dragusin didn't have to be registered because he's under 21. But in the summer he will, because he'll be 22, of course. So there is the term of, if you can find some gems out there that don't have to be registered, then of course, you can actually build up an even bigger squad because they don't have to be registered. So there's also that. So finding young players does benefit the system.
Yeah, there's a good one out in Antwerp that Tottenham are looking at. That Arta Vermeeren, I think he's 18. He was just about to turn 19. I don't know if you've seen his stats on FB Rest, but he's obviously, you've got to take it with a pinch of salt because it's the Belgium league. But this guy looks like the real deal. Looks like he really could be the next. Insert.
Well, the one out on was the one that went to Sevilla, isn't it?
Who's that? Sorry.
The guy that left Ajax, the youngster, he's gone to Sevilla. We missed out on him. I can't remember his name. Talking about it, he chose. We both put a contract for him. I'm not sure.
Really? Dumbo.
I think it's him.
He plays for Ajax Young or something, right? Like the youngster. Yeah.
He's going to be going to Sevilla.
Well, he's gone to Sevilla. Is he? Okay, fair enough.
It's one way or the other. I think so. I'll find it. Yeah, and Dumba. Yeah, it's in the chat. So yeah. But look, if we can find some gems, but with also finding that added quality with proven players, we can sustain a title challenge next season. And that's the thing. It's building on it, building and building and building and building, which don't want it to be knocked down again. And that's the thing.
And do you have more confidence now than, say, 12 months ago in Daniel Levy? Just to kind of go 360 here, or round off the conversation. Obviously, you're still Levy out. You still would like him to, if there was an offer from someone to come in and buy the club, I'm guessing you'd still like to see that be complete. But are you more kind of do you feel more reassured at the moment that with the team he's starting to build, or that Scott Munn is starting to build, putting these players in, that there's less involvement in the ID, less involvement in the negotiation, less involvement in the footballing side? Do you believe that? Is it just a temporary thing, or do you think that he actually is learning from his mistakes and is stepping back a little bit?
I don't think he's learning from the mistakes, because I still think we saw it with the Dragston deal, even with the Johnson deal. If he sees a gem out there, he will still try and, because I don't think a Johnson, as I said earlier, I don't think Johnson fits Ange's system. Why are you buying someone from Forest that plays counter-attacking football and not possession-based football? It just seemed odd. So I do think he will still try and find ways to get involved, but I think it will be less so. Like he won't be totally involved. I do trust his judgment in the Bruno Lange, Paratici, Scott Munn. I do trust them more so than Daniel Levy. But bringing him in, well done, Daniel Levy. Look, I'm willing to give, as I said, if Daniel Levy and the team give Ange what he needs, backs him for 3+ years, so that's 6 windows. I'm quite happy to say, hold my hands up. Well done, Daniel Levy. You got it right. And I will put to bed the Levy out stuff. And most of us would. Brian Daigle said 3 to 5 years of constantly backing managers, where we can say managers didn't get it right. He got the players he wanted, but you haven't delivered. And we go back to, well, the manager needs to go rather than the board or the owners need to go.
Interesting. So it's not dependent on a trophy then. It's depending on backing the manager and giving this guy what he needs.
Everyone's Levy out for different reasons. That's the thing. Like, I'm Levy out based on, the failures of, because I know trophies, there's only 4 to come from every season. This year for us, it was only 3.
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's more of not backing the manager and getting those players over the line, the first choice targets, so to speak, getting them done early. And signs are so far, last summer, January, that we are starting to get the deals done earlier. It's about consistently and continuously doing that now, because Ange's philosophy, Ange don't muck about. He wants the players in early. He's going to demand what he wants.
And he's got a very, very good way of finding the right words in the right order to get what he wants. He seems to have convinced most of the players that he's spoken to. And obviously Daniel Levy's also listening. Mick Dundee with the super chat saying the gaffer says we're in a title race. You're not going to disagree with Ange, are you, Sean? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I think of course we're in a race. Whether we win the race or not.
Ange said to dream earlier on in the season. Why not allow fans to dream? It's our job to dream and believe. So do it.
Yeah. And look, with the exception of the Brighton game that I thought we were terrible and rightly got the floor wiped, or they wiped the floor with us, to have got through this period with so many injuries and still being in the conversation, if we can get these players back, keep who we have got fit and get the other guys back, then I don't think that there's a team that's out there that we can't beat on our day with the full 11, including Man City, including Liverpool away, including Arsenal at home, Chelsea away, that we've all got to play, Newcastle away. I think that if we get our first 11 back fully fit, then I'll back Tottenham in every single one of those fixtures to get a result. And so why not?
Right? Everyone's back. Look at the bench we have. Yesterday, the bench was awful. We could only name eight subs, 2 of them keepers. If everyone's back, the bench, you look at it, you probably have Richie on the bench, Celso on the bench,
Johnson on the bench,
Johnson on the bench, Dragusin on the bench,
Basuma, one of them.
Yeah. So it's a much stronger bench, and you're able to change things during the game if things aren't going well.
Yeah. 100%, mate. 100%. It's been a fascinating conversation. Blaine Devlin, mate. Massive shout out to you, Blaine. Love you, buddy. You're so supportive of the channel. You've gifted 5 people memberships. I can't actually see. I haven't got my analytics thing open. I can't see who you've gifted them to. So if you have received a membership from Blaine, please make sure you say thank you to him. And guys, we will be doing a, like I say, depending on when this FFP thing goes, if that drops this afternoon, I'll be doing that, and I'll do the membership thing tomorrow. If I can get them both done today, I'll definitely will. But Blaine, you're an absolute legend, mate. Thank you so much. And Phil P's also here saying, Greeks flourishing in North London. Who knew? Appreciate you, Phil. Good to see you, mate. Blaine's come back in with another one quickly. Mate, massive thank you, Blaine, once again, mate. So generous. I'm in no way a big Levy fan. However, we cannot say that money hasn't flowed for transfers other than that Poch dead window. It's keeping him away from player choices that we need to stop. Yeah, 100%. Listen, I completely agree with that. I think we can all meet in the middle and say that there has been money spent. It's been spent poorly for the most part over the last 4 or 5 years. When we have spent money, we haven't picked the right players, and we have missed out on. If the rumors were always to be believed that Tottenham could have got Fernandes, could have got Grealish, I'd always throw that out there about the Jack Grealish thing, just for what it's worth. That when Villa wanted £25 million for him and Tottenham were only willing to pay 21 or whatever it was, whilst it sounds like Levy missed out on the best bargain, and obviously with the benefit of hindsight, we did. There wasn't another chairman in Premier League or in world football that was willing to pay what Aston Villa asked of him at the time. And so I'd go back to that perceived valuation conversation. With the benefit of hindsight, you can look back and say, yeah, there's £100 million player there that we missed out on. But at the time, it wasn't just Tottenham that thought that 25 million was too much for Jack Grealish. Everybody in world football thought the same because nobody else paid it. And so I would just tell that. But yeah, Blaine, massively appreciate you, mate, and appreciate all of you that are watching. But yeah, I think we can all agree that money has flowed just in the wrong direction, and ultimately sometimes we've missed out on on the right transfer targets because of stubborn negotiation tactics. Juice Nuts is here as well. Thank you so much, Juice. Appreciate you, mate. Love the stream. Keep it up. Appreciate you, buddy. I'd love to get you back on, again, as often as you want, mate. You've been very well received by everybody in the comments. And I think we've had a very respectful conversation. We haven't got into any, the real nitty gritty or the details of Levy's history, but there's no need to really. I think where we're all at right now is we're seeing. Yeah, sorry. Go on, mate.
Everything's positive at the moment. There was no need to, go into a big debate over it. The past is the past. We know where we are now as a football club. We want to try and get to where we want to be in the future. Hopefully it comes in the next few years. And hopefully the fan base can unite over one common goal, which is back Ange, big Ange, loving big Ange instead.
Yeah.
And just enjoying the football.
And if you were to be a betting man, where do you see Tottenham finishing, or what do you see Tottenham achieving? I won't put a timeline on it in terms of this season, but over the course of Ange's 4-year initial contract, do you see us winning a trophy or winning a title? If so, when and what?
I do think the FA Cup this year, because I think if we beat City, all bets are off. And I will come back and answer whether we can win the league depending on this summer's window. I think it all depends on how we buy, how quick we buy them, how quick we sort out the targets, whether they're first choice, all the paper talk stuff. But how, who we sign tells you a big role in terms of whether we're trying to go for the title or not, I think. I don't think anyone,
100%.
Anyone I think they're doing this well and being where we are now. But after wherever we finish this year, people know how we're going to play. And I think the summer window will tell you a big, big part of where we are looking to go, whether we want to challenge for the title or not.
Couldn't agree more, mate. And hopefully this FFP story will prove to demonstrate that the rules are there to be enforced. What's the point? I was saying this before. I think it was was it Phil I was talking to about this? I think it was Phil on WhatsApp. We kind of like the Lance Armstrong kind of analogy, right? Is he was saying, yes, I did cheat, but I had to cheat because everybody else was cheating as well, right? And Tottenham were the only, until recently or until right now, maybe Tottenham are the only cyclist in the Tour de France that's not been on the juice, or one of the few that haven't been on the juice, and hopefully the rules are now going to be enforced. And from that, you'll see some, unsettling of other teams' status quos. Hopefully City will, if they're guilty, will face their consequences. And hopefully it will provide opportunities for Tottenham. Whether or not we grab those with both hands remains to be seen. But listen, all you can do is put your best foot forward and go again. Brian, mate, absolute sensational debut on the show, mate. Where can people find you, buddy?
You can find me on Tottenham on Tour with the likes of Brian Daigle, Brian Ireland, Rez, Ben Kaufman, and all the rest of them. Amir at times. We have a morning show Monday to Friday. It starts at 9 o'clock called Cockle Doodle Doo. Loads of guests, even guests that have been on in the chat, in your chat. just talk about all things Spurs that's come out in the recent news, transfers, stuff like that. And then after every game, we have Andrew Management. So Andrew Management was today at 9:30 with Brian and Johnny H on Twitter.
Yep.
Just talking about the game, positives, negatives, the star players that they felt, and then Ange himself. And then obviously me got the I do my match reviews yesterday. I had too much storage in my phone, so I couldn't get my match review up. It ran out after about 3.5 minutes, which was
no.
So Brian had to take that one over. So Brian done a match review yesterday for the game, so go check that out. Go check out all the content that we've put up. But yeah, I'll pop on any show when everyone wants me, but I'm probably more on Tottenham on Tour, our show. I'll go to the games when I can. I'm actually heading over to Toronto next Friday for 9 days to stay with Brian.
Oh, nice.
So I'll be out there enjoying the -30 plus wind chill out
The
there.
right time of year to go, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure Toronto's tourism are like, what? Someone's coming to Toronto in February?
Yeah.
What's going on? Mate, listen, absolutely sensational debut, mate. I want to say massive thank you to everyone in the chat as well. Thank you to the guys with the super chats. If you haven't already, please do get over to Tottenham on Tour. The link is in the title. Smash it and go and support the channel over there. Hit the like button on the video as well if you enjoyed the respectful debate and chat about Daniel Levy and ENIC and all things moving forward. And to be seen, right? I think we're in the right process. Everything's moving in the right direction, but we haven't done anything just yet. So the pressure should remain, and it's important that there's elements of the fan base and people like Ryan and Brian who kind of represent that narrative to put their kind of hold the pressure on the club to do what's in the best interest of the fans and not just the people who control the accounts. But Ryan, thank you so much, mate. Guys in the chat, thanks everybody for staying in. You'll see me later on this afternoon or this evening for the FFP announcement when that happens. And if not, or on top of that, the member shows, so keep a lookout for that later on this evening. Like, subscribe, and comment, guys. And as always, come on, you